Welcome to this episode on the Health and Happiness Show, where it's my mission to change your mindset so that you can live a healthy and happier life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's go. Hey guys, it's Ollie here, and welcome back to another episode on the Health and Happiness Show. Today we are diving deep into motivation. Motivation, for the majority of us, is the barrier that stops us taking action, and if we're not taking action, then we're not going to see any results. And if we're not seeing the results, then we're not going to live a healthy and happier life. So for the majority of us, that starting point is finding motivation. And then perhaps the biggest barrier would actually be keeping and staying motivated. So that is exactly what we're going to dive deep into on today's show. Before we get straight into that, I want to remind you that for the next limited time, you can avail of my 7-day mindset course, absolutely free. The link is in the show notes. But anyway, let's get on with the show. Now, number one when it comes to motivation is not myself and probably not anybody else is motivated all the time. No one is motivated all the time, right? And actually what motivation could be compared to is of that a roller coaster. And if you've ever been on a roller coaster, then you'll know that yes, there are lows and there are the fast parts and there are the really, really high parts, which is the scary and challenging parts, but there's also all of these different bumps and hurdles and rides along the way, and motivation is very much the same. Motivation isn't linear, it's not going to last forever, but really what motivation comes down to perhaps is attitude. And I think it's the Henry Ford quote, which goes like, something along the lines of, the only way that an aeroplane can take off is by fighting through the wind. And it's that same resistance for yourself which actually gets you to where you want to be. So we need to understand that attitude. Look, when you're motivated, everything's great. Everything's working for you, everything's going well for you, and you're loving life. But really, it's that attitude when things aren't going your way and you have to fight through and push through that resistance, which is the most important part of the process. And I can tell you now, spoiler alert, that every goal that you hope to and aspire to achieve has and will have resistance along the way, whether that's just the challenges that come with achieving that goal, whether it's the lack of support, whether it's the lack of guidance, whether it's the failures that all come up on the way, right? Motivation undeniably gets people started on their journey, but it's that attitude when you hit that resistance which actually defines everything. So it is really important to understand that actually motivation isn't linear and to let go of that illusion. I have down days, I have bad days, just like everybody else. It's actually the thing that makes us human. But in terms of why it is that we lose motivation, well, there are a number of ways, and they're the ways that I want to explore now. Number one is emotions. We are creatures of emotion, right? Like, yes, we're creatures of logic and habit as well, but we're also creatures of emotion. And as you know, emotions fall into two halves, positive and negative. Now, associate when you're motivated, you're experiencing positive emotions, happiness, joy, excitement, right? But when you're experiencing negative emotions, such as jealousy or sadness or anger, right? These actually demotivate us. So number one, we need to actually look at this from an emotional well-being standpoint, in a sense of how can we certainly create long-lasting motivation? Well, that's going to come down to creating a positive mindset. And as you guys know, I'm quite passionate about the mindset. So really, how do we create unlimited motivation? Well, that doesn't exist, but what I do know for a fact is that an individual with a more positive mindset will be better equipped to dealing with the negative challenges and the negative emotions that will inevitably come into their day or just their life. So we need to understand that actually it's emotions first which control our thinking, our feeling, and the actions that we take. And that would be the rule number one. If you are genuinely quite unhappy and you experience maybe quite a lot of negative emotions as a complete whole, then my advice first and foremost would be to tap into that, because January 1st might come around and you may be motivated then to lose weight and join the gym and so forth. But really, if you're not tapping into the deeper core and the roots of actually yourself and your inner self and your inner happiness, then those obstacles are just going to come back up and creep back in, and demotivate you along the way. So we need to become aware of the emotions, and adding to that, and my second point in terms of why we lose motivation would be environment. It is your environment which dictates your thoughts, feelings, and actions. It is your environment that controls everything, largely your mood and your motivation. Let me give an example. For, I'd say, a large majority of people, when they go to work, number one, they may not enjoy the work that they do. And that's going to be the biggest problem for that person, right? If they don't enjoy what they're going to do, then instantly there's going to be an influx of negativity in terms of emotions and behavior and attitude, right? All the things that we've spoken about so far. But let's say actually they do enjoy the work, and that's great, and that's needed, that's absolutely needed for motivation, right? If you don't go to work motivated, then there's probably going to be many other areas in your life where you don't have the motivation for, given that work plays such a large part of our week and life. But let's say, hypothetically, yes, you are happy in the work that you do, right, which is the goal. Maybe those people, i.e. your work colleagues, i.e. your managers, i.e. your bosses, aren't good for your mental health, aren't good for your motivation. We've probably all seen it, or at least had it, in the office where, we're making a real conscious effort with our diet to make the change, to lose the weight and actually put ourselves first. And what do we get? Challenge after challenge after challenge. We get, oh, Sandra, you're on another diet? Like, weren't you just on a diet last week? Is this the 60th or the 70th now? I've lost count how many times you've been on a diet, right? That's a challenge. What about when, in the office we have, takeaway Fridays, and everyone in the office is getting the takeaway for the lunch, whether it's pizza or Chinese or, a Subway or whatever it is, right? Like, that's a challenge. And, how often have you maybe had it, maybe not in the office environment, maybe just at home, where you've had, the temptation from the others within your environment saying, go on, just have a slice, go on, just have one cookie won't hurt. You're being obsessive, you're being restrictive. I've certainly had it if I've been out with the guys, having a couple of drinks on the town. Go on, shots. This peer pressure, which all revolves around our environment. So, hands down, perhaps second to emotion, the biggest way or reason why we lose motivation is because of the environments of where we spend our time. And if you change your environment, you will undoubtedly change your life. But Ollie, I can't just change office, right? Understandably. So awareness is the key that unlocks the door to all change. And at the very least, if you can't make any changes within that negative environment, then you're aware of it. And the majority of people aren't aware of the indirect or direct sabotage that's coming into play from the people within the close environments. And what are some of the close environments? Well, work, right? Our workplace, wherever you work, right? It doesn't matter. If you work in a restaurant, you're surrounded by temptation all day, right? That is a challenge that poses itself. That's something which you need to become aware of and learn and put in the steps in place to deal with. Your home environment plays the biggest part, right? And who maybe you come home to, if anyone, right, plays a part within that environment. Maybe if you come home to an empty house and you are maybe struggling from a degree of loneliness, that's a challenge within your environment, even though it's just you in that environment. Let's say you come home to a partner who has had a bad day at work, and they released their stress and their anger onto you. Well, how's that going to make you feel, right? When you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, we need to ensure that those 5 people, or the average, is positive for our mental health and that they're conducive for our goals. Like, I love my mother. I absolutely love her, right? But she was not good for my diet. She was not good for the 6-pack because, like most mums, they like to spoil their children, and I would come home the majority of the days to a treat that she's either baked or that she's bought. So I had to be aware then that, Mum, you are sabotaging my diet, right? And this is the awareness that we need. And where possible, we need to make those changes. Now, let's say you have a partner who maybe isn't that supportive of your goals. This comes up a lot. Of course, in the first instance, it's not just a case of, right, you don't support my goals, pack your bags and away you go. Of course, in the first instance, we're trying to make changes in terms of a change in their perspective, a change in their outlook. Because if you can do that, and if you can get them on side and get them on board with your goals, and actually communicate just what they mean to you, you're going to be well on your way to not only achieving goals, but having higher levels of motivation. Every time, either directly or indirectly, that person, that friend, that work colleague, that family member, that spouse puts you down for what you're doing and why you're doing it, it's demotivating, either on a conscious or subconscious level. This is the degree at how motivation affects us, internally and externally, and actually just how, waiting till Monday to start your diet or waiting till January the 1st isn't enough. And this is why, probably for everyone listening to this podcast right now, every single week there's something else. That's also why, in relation to motivation, how just waiting and delaying until Monday does not work. Why? Because every week there is another challenge. Just look at the calendar of the year. If it's not Christmas, where there's just food galore, there's the Easter bunnies, and then there's the ice creams in the summer, and then there's all of the treats at Halloween. Like throughout the year, whether it's birthdays, calendar events, weddings, christenings, there's always something, and we need to stop. We need to put the brakes on now on saying, oh, but I'll wait then. I'll wait till then. And right now, this is a really appropriate and applicable time, given the lockdown, given the coronavirus, and given how that's taken so much away from us in terms of routines and even freedom, right? The number of people who are saying to me right now, oh, but I'll get back to the weight loss, when the gyms reopen. That's a mentality that needs to be changed, because motivation isn't enough in that situation. And actually, you have to change that mindset first before motivation is going to come to you. Because let me tell you now, we'll go into motivational techniques in a wee while, but the thing that creates perhaps the biggest amount of motivation is taking action. And the thing that's stopping you from taking action is your mindset. So these are the things that we need to change. Of course, maybe one of the most prominent reasons why we lose motivation is because we're not seeing results. Look, it doesn't really matter what the goal is for that individual. A goal for somebody may be to find love in a relationship. A goal for someone maybe to lose a stone. A goal for someone maybe to make 6 figures in a business, right? Whatever the goal is, when we don't see results, that's demoralizing and it's demotivating. But it's, again, your attitude when you don't see results. So on the scales, when the scales aren't going down, it is your attitude when the scales aren't going down which matters the most in terms of your motivation. Let me give you an example, right? Now, relationship with the scales is a completely different podcast, okay? But here's the thing. When you step on the scales and you see that the weight hasn't gone down, you're going to either react in 2 ways. You're either going to react in, oh my God, screw this. I've had it up to here. I'm done with dieting. Screw this, screw the scales. You throw the scales out the window. They hit someone on the head. No, please don't do that. But yet we're saying you react in anger, in disappointment, in frustration, right? Or when the weight isn't going down on the scales, you can reverse engineer that and actually look at why isn't the weight going down on the scales. So when a client comes to me and they're like, Ollie, I am not losing weight, I'm so fed up. Every single time I look at it, usually from a bird's eye view, and I say, dun, X, Y, Z, right? I'm not even going to go into this, but just as an example, oh, Ollie, I have not lost weight. I'm so fed up of not losing weight. Susan, right? You haven't lost weight today, right? What about for the last 6 months that we've been dieting and you've lost 3 stone? Again, perspective is everything. Perspective is everything. But anyway, back to my original point. Not seeing results is a demotivator. Therefore, we need to have a plan in place and a strategy that is going to allow us to not only reach our goals, but see results. Because when you see results, as a result of taking action, that is the cycle that creates more motivation, right? Not any external or even internal motivation. Taking action, seeing the result, that by default creates more motivation. Another reason would be poor sleep. Sleep is the silent killer. I'm going to maybe say that. I don't know if that's right. But sleep is responsible for so many of the problems that we face every single day. Whether that's just being moody all the time, grouchy, right? Whether that's actually just eating crap all day long and not being sure why you're hungry all the time or why you keep making poor food choices. Yep, willpower is a valid thing. Look, we'll go into willpower on another podcast, right? But essentially, sleep is the sort of reset button for the body at the end of every day. And should you not press that reset button and actually stop to rest and rejuvenate as such from sleep, then you go into the next day with hormonal imbalances where, like, I'm not going to bore you with the science, but the science of ghrelin and leptin, the two hunger hormones, they're off put, right? And as a result, you make worse food choices, you then feel worse about yourself, and the demotivation escalates from there. So sleep, for the majority of people, resolve your sleep, resolve your life. Self-doubt. This is a big one, and it's astounding at just how many people don't believe in themselves. Now, why don't they believe in themselves? Well, this could be for a number of reasons, whether it's previous failed attempts, whether it's having a lack of support, whether it's just where their own mindset's at right now. But essentially, the majority of people don't believe in themselves when it comes to their goals. And therein lies the problem for a lot of people. Here's the thing, right? Anyone that knows me knows that I have big goals and I have big aspirations of what I want to achieve, who I want to help, and on what scale. And like every single body else, elements of self-doubt creep in. But they're the challenges that actually offer us the opportunity to grow and use as motivation if we change our perspective and change our mindset on that, right? But the difference is, I'm okay with getting to the end of my days and saying I'm failed, as you guys know. What I'm not okay to do is get to the end of my days and say I regret. And self-doubt's completely normal. It's a human emotion at the end of the day. But what's not okay is unhappiness and ill health. And if you not taking the action as a result of self-doubt is going to create ill health or unhappiness, then that's the problem. And actually, we need to look at this in the sense of, are we truthfully going to put our goals on hold because we don't believe in ourselves? And if you really want to get deep into it, no one's going to believe in you for you, right? Oh, 100%. As the role of a coach, I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to instill the self-belief that you know you need. But at the end of the day, it's down to you. It's down to the work that you put in. It's down to the self-belief that you have. And I would also argue that it's the desire that you have to reach and achieve the goals. Another demotivator, if you like, would be time, and how sometimes the thought that actually, it's going to take 6 months to achieve my goals, I don't know if I can wait that long, right? I think that's quite poor. Time is everything in the sense of, look, right? Let's say, it takes a year to achieve a goal. But if that year of hard work and lessons and teachings along the way is going to lead to a healthy and happier life, then I would say that year is worth it. Why? Because if you're healthier and happier for the other 40, 50, 60 years of your life, then it is definitely worth it, right? So time really can't become an excuse. But to sort of summarize on demotivation or why we lose motivation as such, the bottom line is if we rely on motivation to achieve our goals, we're never going to achieve our goals. Motivation is what we would call a synergist. It's a synergist to help you achieve the goal. It's not the underlying reason how we achieve a goal. And obviously what we're going to go through now is how we can get and stay motivated. Now look, there are a number of reasons, but I want to summarize those into 5. And number 1 would be pain and struggle. So I very much believe that pain is purpose in life, right? Let me say that again. Pain is purpose. Going through cancer was painful physically, mentally, and emotionally for me. But it was also purposeful because it is because of my cancer, which is why this podcast exists today. It's because of my cancer, which is why I now have the opportunity to change lives with the Health and Happiness Academy, right? That pain 3 years ago has become my purpose today. And for that, I think that's beautiful, right? And very much, I do not doubt that the pain that you may be currently in or have been in the past is your purpose. And pain can either define us or it can create us. And a saying I live by is everyone that you meet is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. And that battle is obviously a battle of pain and challenge and difficulty. But it's that battle that gives you the badge of honor to be stronger, to be more resilient, to be more courageous, right? Because when you've gone through the crap, right, you are stronger because of it. I was going to swear then, but I was like, oh, don't have to be explicit on the podcast, and that isn't me. So I'm trying my best. But anyway, the pain is your purpose, right? And actually, perhaps if you take nothing else away from this podcast, I'd absolutely love if you went away and dug deep into what is causing you pain right now, or perhaps what has caused you pain in the past. And this is going to be challenging because it's painful, right? But the haunt that has, but the past that has haunted us for so long has the opportunity to hit us today by resolving that and by using that pain as purpose. The addition to that is the struggle. I think every single one of us listening to this has their own struggles right now, either mentally, physically, emotionally, right? Whether it's a struggle to lose weight, a struggle to make more money, a struggle to keep a roof over your head, a struggle to find a partner, right? We all have struggles, but I also believe that it's your struggles which are your strength. And when you combine pain to purpose and struggle to strength, like purpose and strength, that's pretty powerful if you ask me. And what I believe and know, I would argue, is that it is those two things, purpose and strength, as a result of the pains and struggles that you've gone through, which give you all of the motivation that you could ever need to reach and achieve your goals and finally live a healthier and happier life. So change your perspective and relationship on pain and on the struggles that you face, because once you change that and you make that switch, suddenly you find that you have unlimited motivation. Now, I will reiterate, I am not motivated all the time, despite my pains and despite my struggles. However, it is that degree of pain and struggle which is the reset button for me every single day, and is the reason why I get out of bed every single morning, because I have a purpose and I know my strengths in terms of what I can give back to this world. Another reason to how we can get and stay motivated would be accountability. Look, I've been a coach now for 10 years this year, and the secret ingredient to helping a client make an amazing transformation, mental, physical and emotional, and help them live a healthy and happy life lies within the accountability that I provide for them. Now look, that isn't me bigging me up. That is the secret ingredient. You know that secret sauce in Granny's ragu, right? The secret sauce in you achieving any goals lies within accountability. And if I'm to look back to when I've achieved any measure of success in any area of my life, it's accredited to the accountability that I've had. I would go, this is deep, I would go as far as saying the reason why I've gotten to where I am today with my health, fighting through and battling cancer, is because of accountability. Many of you will know, would have seen and heard the post that I put out all those years ago, me announcing my diagnosis to the world. Yes, it's the hardest and scariest thing that I ever did, but that was also the day that I made myself accountable to you guys to let you know that actually this is what I'm going through right now and this is what I'm going to be. I don't doubt for a second that if I didn't put that post out, not only would I not have received the support, love and all of the above, which I've mentioned before, but I wouldn't have been accountable to beating this. And that battle would have been solo, it would have been a lot harder, and I know for a fact I would not be where I am today with my health and happiness if I stayed quiet, if I didn't raise my hand and ask for help. This goes back to what I just said previously of everyone you meet is going through a battle you know nothing about. And therefore, I would ask that you keep yourself accountable to achieving your goals and, more importantly, overcoming the struggles that you're facing right now. It is thanks to you guys, which is why I am where I am with my health today, because I had accountability. I knew that because I put that post out that actually I had to beat this, because I was real and raw and honest with you guys. And accountability is the secret ingredient to you having monumental success with your goals in any area of your life. Because weight loss is an easy example. When you want to give up, when you want to binge eat, when you want to raid the cupboards, you don't and you can't. Why? Because you're accountable to me. It's as simple as that. Accountability is the secret ingredient. When you achieve your goal, why did you achieve your goal? Because when you wanted to give up and when you lost motivation, you couldn't and can't because you had accountability to me, your coach. It's as simple as that. It really is as simple as that. And it's also why when I did my photo shoot, and to this day when I still have a coach now, in different areas of my life, by the way, I have a coach for my body composition, I have a coach for my business, and I have a coach in terms of personal. I have many mentors, but look, we don't need to deviate into that. My point is this: the reason why I work with a number of coaches and a number of different mentors is so that they keep me accountable to my goals. Accountability is the super glue. I don't know if that's the best metaphor, but accountability is the super glue. One of the most powerful ways to get and stay motivated is to have a crystal clear vision of what it is you want to achieve in this world and what it is you want to get out of life. Many of you will know, this year, 2020, at the time of recording this podcast, it is my mission and purpose to help and serve 100 people with the Health and Happiness Academy. I can't begin to express the pride and gratitude that I have to say that I now have 14 students within the Academy who are all going through their own transformation, changing their life and living a healthy and happier one. But as many of you know, it is now my mission to help and serve 100 people. Why is that important to me? Well, go back to episode 1 and you'll learn why the Academy even exists. But for now, all I'm going to say is that I have a crystal clear vision of who I want to help, how I want to help them, and how many I want to help along the way. That vision is my motivation. It's that vision and really that purpose which gets me out of bed every single morning. And when I want to throw in the towel, and when I want to give up, I don't and I can't, because I have a purpose, because I have a vision. That's powerful. And I would encourage you right now to dig deep into what that vision is. Relay it back to your goals and you will find motivation. I'm not a parent. I hope to be in the future. But let me tell you this, the day that I have kids, there will be the day that everything that I do, I will do for, and even to an extent now, everything I'm doing now is for my current family and my future family. They are part of my purpose in relation to my health. One of the most painful driving forces to me getting healthier and beating my cancer was the very thought of not having children, was the very thought of not seeing my wedding day, was the very thought of not fulfilling my vision that actually existed before my cancer. So if you want to find motivation, instantly dig deep into that vision. And if you don't have that vision, that's where you start, and that's where you need to address before you can find unlimited motivation. Looking at motivation from maybe perhaps a more psychological sense of view, because obviously mindset is psychology and motivation is psychology. One really clever way, and this is one I'll just recommend anyway, would be to use rewards and incentives. So this is like reward psychology, okay? So now, what I'm not maybe suggesting is that when you lose your pound, you lose the 2-3 pounds this week, you reward yourself in, a takeaway. That kind of defeats the purpose. But how I would maybe suggest it is Let's say you want to lose weight. You want to lose a few pounds, fantastic. When you lose that weight, you will treat yourself to go on a holiday. You're going to look great, feel great, and the reward is that you get to go on a holiday and celebrate, right? That's an example. I am not a materialistic person, but maybe you are. That's not a bad thing, by the way, right? Maybe you are motivated by money. And actually, when you hit 6 figures, you are going to treat yourself to a Rolex watch, right? As an example, again, it comes down to what your goals are, what your values are, what your purpose is, and what means the most to you. But reward incentive psychology is very, very powerful because it's motivating you to do the thing so they get the reward at the end of it. And if you know anything about habits, that is actually how a habit works: trigger, routine, and reward. So that would be one very, very powerful way. Maybe though, the most powerful way, and I've said this a lot, but perhaps I would, conclude on this being the most powerful way to get and stay motivated, is to understand that actually you're going to die. I'm sorry to be so deep, but it's the truth. You only get one life. And when you really accept that actually you are going to die, you're not immortal, actually that will be the motivation to start taking action today. And as I've said before, and I'll say again, cancer was a blessing in so many ways. Because I foresaw the fact that actually death may be on my door at the age of 26, I was like, crap, I start taking action. Now, fortunately, thankfully, I've always pursued my passion and thus my purpose. But it was an awakening in terms of actually revision. Am I doing everything that I want to do in my life? And if I'm not, what steps do I need to take to create that? And that is something I'd advise to you. Life goes by quickly. And, we'd all agree that the years are only getting quicker. Mental, right? Look at your life today, whether you're 16 years old, 26 years old, 46 years old, or 86 year olds. Look at your life today and go, am I happy? And am I healthy? Do I have a sense of fulfillment? Do I have a purpose that I'm following and pursuing? These are some important questions to ask, because essentially what motivates me every single day is the fact that there's still a possibility that my life expectancy may remain 26. And if that's the case, I need to get to work because time is ticking. I'm going to beat it anyway. Belief in all of that, right? But you get what I'm saying. As you can begin to learn, there are a number of reasons why we lose motivation in the first place. And most importantly, what we can do to reclaim that motivation. Remember this: motivation isn't linear. It never has been and never will be. You are not doing anything wrong. The reason why you're never always motivated. And all of the people that you see and look up to, or even compare yourself against on social media, who just don't seem to have any problems, they do. Who have this perfect lifestyle, they don't. Who are always motivated, they're not. Myself included. We're human. It's what makes us normal, inverted commas. And yeah. So I hope that's been of value to you in this podcast episode. Rewind this, start back from the beginning, make notes, go over this. Because I am a motivated individual, despite losing motivation almost daily. It's a roller coaster, remember. It's a roller coaster. And no roller coaster just has highs, it has lows as well. Let that be of value. And thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. As always, stay healthy, be happy. Take care.